Chapter 1 The Ancestor faked his corpse 100,000 years ago. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding. Has the host signed in? Sign in. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully signing in for 100,000 years. A total of 5.256 billion sign-ins have been signed in. Now that the merits are complete, the sign-in space has begun to be unlocked. The countdown is 10 minutes. In a deep space, Yi Yun, who existed in his soul body, suddenly heard the sound of the system, and his numb soul was finally injected with a little life, 100,000 years. He can finally go out. In this dark and mysterious space, you sign in every 10 minutes, and you sign in for 100,000 years. Yi Yun waited silently. He doesn't know what kind of world will be outside 100,000 years from now. Is the Shenlong Sect more powerful, or more lonely? The ruins of Shenlong Sect, Back Mountain. Master, finally let your old man rest in peace. On the way to transport your ashes, the three of us, senior sister and brother, were hunted down. In order to protect us, the senior sister is still alive and dead. I guess, it's probably dead. Junior brother, I was arrested on the way. Now I am the only one left in the entire Shenlong Sect. Master, although you passed on the position of sect leader to me before you died, I'm afraid I won't be able to inherit your last wish. After making arrangements for your old man, I will go far away, stay anonymous, and never show my face again. Master, I really can't stand it alone. In front of a brand new grave, a young girl wearing a ragged preacher's robe and unkempt face knelt on the ground and burned a stick of incense. With sadness on her dusty face, the girl was about 16 or 17 years old, and her robe had many holes, revealing her glistening white skin, with dark red blood stains soaking through in some places, which was shocking. He spoke his inner thoughts in front of the grave. The boulder in the girl's heart seemed to fall to the ground. The whole person looked much more relaxed. Luo Li stood up and looked around. In the valley where she was, there were nearly 300 graves densely arranged. Originally, she should have been buried here after her death, but now, she decided to disband the Shenlong Sect. Therefore, after death, he is destined to have no chance with this place. Although the Shenlong Sect is a small and unpopular sect, it has a long tradition. Every sect leader will enter this valley after death. In front of those densely packed tombs, there are stone tablets standing one after another. Some of the stone tablets are extremely old. If we count the time, they are at least 100,000 years old. Alas, it is said that our Shenlong Sect was originally the top eternal level sect. Unexpectedly, we have now fallen to. Luo Li sighed, her dark face looking desolate. As the down-and-out sect leader, Luo Li was only at the 8th level of the Qi-gathering realm. He can be called the weakest sect leader in history. After practicing with their master for many years, they were either hiding or trying to escape from their enemies. Where is the time to practice? Therefore, Luo Li's cultivation was pitifully weak. It is said that the 250th generation leader of their Shenlong Sect once offended a very big force. From now on, generations of disciples of the Shenlong Sect have all embarked on the road of escape. Despite this, the Shenlong Sect has lasted for nearly 50 generations, and it has reached the Luo Li area and is already the 298th generation sect leader. Recalling the sad past, Luo Li's face became even more gloomy, and she silently sighed a few more times. Perhaps having the blood of the divine dragon made the descendants of the divine dragon sect strong in faith. Generations of sect masters struggled to survive in the cracks, escaping waves of enemies. It's been a long time. The Shenlong Sect is getting weaker and weaker, and Master Luo Li's generation has only accepted 3 apprentices in decades, and her master is just a monk in the Yuan High realm. Oh, it's hard to look back on the past. Luo Li's sad eyes swept across several ancient tombs in the depths, and suddenly said to himself, forget it, I won't come here again anyway, so let's offer the last stick of incense to the ancestors of the sect. Finished, Luo Li took a bundle of incense and walked towards the first row of graves in the depths. Starting from the first grave, the ancestors began to offer incense. Luo Li remained silent, with a solemn expression on her dark, dusty face. We arrived at the 13th grave. Luo Li glanced at the ancient stone tablet in front of the tomb, and the look in her narrow Danfang eyes suddenly changed. Is this the most powerful ancestor in the history of the Shenlong Sect? It is said that he was so domineering back then that he offended many people. Even the saint of the Ice Phoenix sect dared to molest him. He made people angry and resented him, and in the end he only became a 6-year-old. Sect Master Nian has abdicated his throne and made way for others. Speaking of which, the corners of Luo Li's plump lips raised and she sneered, "Humph. He is the shortest-lived leader of the Shenlong Sect." Although I feel angry, Luo Li still offered a stick of incense. In any case, this 13th generation sect leader once led the Shenlong Sect to achieve the most glorious results. It was worthy of her to burn a stick of incense for this ancestor, for the 12 ancestors in front of them. Luo Li kowtowed every time he burned a stick of incense, but she did not kowtow to the 13th generation sect leader, standing straight. "Ancestor, if you weren't too arrogant and made so many enemies, how could the Shenlong Sect decline so quickly? And you yourself, it is said that you went crazy while practicing and turned your hair into a pig. Many of your enemies at that time applauded one by one, saying that our Shenlong Sect had done all the bad things and deserved it." After finishing complaining, Luo Li muttered and turned around, preparing to go to the 14th grave to offer incense. Suddenly the soil loosened and there were sparse sounds. Looking at the constantly stirring soil, Luo Li was shocked, and a look of fear suddenly appeared on his face, a fake corpse. "The ancestor is alive. Climbed out of the coffin board." Luo Li was shaking like chaff. She was scared to death at this moment. Could an ancestor who had been dead for 100,000 years get so angry that he climbed out of the coffin after being laughed at by her? A white bone hand suddenly stretched out from the mound, boom. The grave suddenly exploded. A white skeleton jumped high and landed in front of Luo Li. "Oh my God, ghost!" Luo Li was so frightened that she sat down on the ground, her eyes turned white, and she almost stopped peeing. Chapter 2 Ancestor of True God Realm, Smiling Proudly in the World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. "Little girl, did you say bad things about me just now?" Looking at the little black girl in front of him who was paralyzed by fear, Yian climbed out of the coffin and suddenly grinned. This smile made the chin of the skeleton make a click sound. Yian glanced down, found that there was nothing in his chest, only a white skeleton remains. Fortunately, the skeleton is still there. Yian felt a little relieved. He has the blood of the ancestral dragon and can recreate his body. "Ancestor, I was wrong. I shouldn't have said bad things about you. Please forgive me." Luo Li's face was pale, her expression was panicked, her head was banging on the ground like a pound of garlic. She was so scared that she cried. She never imagined that her grumbling would actually lead her ancestor to climb out of the coffin board. "How many generations of sect master are you? How can you be so weak?" Yi Yun looked at Luo Li quietly, his hollow white eyes giving people an eerie feeling. "Returning to my ancestors, I am Luo Li, the 298th generation sect leader. Although I am a bit weak, I am definitely the sect leader of our Shenlong Sect. I guarantee it will be true." Luo Li raised his head slightly, with frightened eyes, and took out the sect leader's token tremblingly. "You really are the sect leader?" Yi Yun glanced at the token, looked around, and immediately confirmed Luo Li's identity. "This place, it is the mountain behind the ancestral hall, where the bones of all the Shenlong sect masters in the past dynasties are buried. Here, there is a large formation that he personally arranged. Only the sect leader can enter." Yi Yun no longer questions Luo Li's identity, but this little girl's level is really too low. If it were 100,000 years ago, such a disciple would not even be qualified to carry shoes for the outer disciples of the Shenlong Sect. Is this world getting weaker, or is the Shenlong Sect getting weaker? Yi Yun stared at Luo Li with his gloomy white bone eyes, his voice was low and strange. "If I go back to my ancestors, the world has not changed, but the Shenlong Sect has declined. Now I am the only one left." Having said this, Luo Li sat down on the ground and burst into tears. She was already unkempt, with runny nose and tears streaming down her face, making her look even more embarrassed. "What a poor little girl." Seeing Luo Li crying sadly, Yi Yun sighed secretly. He never expected it. The Shenlong Sect would be in such a state of decline. However, this is the cruel reality 100,000 years later. Yi Yun corrected his mentality and began to face reality. Close your eyes. Yi Yun ordered. He wanted to recreate his physical body and didn't want this junior to see his glory. Oh, Luo Li obediently closed her eyes. Yi Yun touched his wrist, sent his spiritual thoughts directly to the system warehouse, took out a porcelain bottle, and drank it in one gulp. This is the blood of the ancestral dragon given to him by the system. It is also a reward for signing in for the first time. Every generation of sect masters of the Shenlong Sect has strong Shenlong blood in their bodies. Back then, Yi Yun's Shenlong bloodline concentration reached 99%. When he was 24 years old, he broke through the eternal realm and stood at the pinnacle of Changnan continent. At this time, the sign-in system is activated. The system told him, if you want to go further on the road of cultivation, you must abandon the divine dragon bloodline and replace it with the ancestral dragon bloodline in order to break through to the eternal realm and enter the legendary divine realm. After some careful consideration, Yi Yun agreed to the system's request and entered the mysterious sign-in space. It lasts for 100,000 years. Checked in a total of 5.2 billion times. After the blood of the ancestral dragon was absorbed by the white bones, fresh flesh and blood grew back on the white bones at an astonishing speed visible to the naked eye. Yi Yun flicked his wrist and put on a snow-white gown. Okay, you can open your eyes. Yi Yun smiled softly. Luo Li moved the hand covering her eyes away and her eyes brightened. The ancestor who is dressed in white is better than the snow, with outstanding grace, and the jade tree stands in the wind. He is like a banished immortal, his grace is indescribable. My ancestor was so beautiful. Luo Li's cheeks were hot and she looked at Yi Yun without blinking, for fear of missing every detail. She had never seen such a handsome and delicate man in her life, dressed in white. He is a handsome young man, it's really heart-pounding. Yi Yun put his hands behind his back and looked at the poor little slug in front of him, with a faint smile on his face. At this time, the power of the blood of the ancestral dragon, like a great river running through his body, the barriers of his eternal realm shattered at this moment. Yi Yun finally got his wish and entered the realm of true gods. In Changnan continent, under the gods, the cultivation levels are divided into body refining realm, qi gathering realm, xiandan realm, yuan hai realm, god shaping realm, shenxiao realm, nirvana realm, destiny realm, life and death realm, and eternal realm. There are 10 major levels in total. Realm, the eternal realm is already at its peak. If one breaks through to the true God realm, he will become an invincible god who looks down upon the world. In Changnan continent, for hundreds of thousands of years, no one has set foot in the divine realm. The realm of gods is just an ancient legend. Ancestor, has your cultivation reached a breakthrough? Luo Li's eyes widened in horror and her mouth opened wide. With her unique Shenlong heart technique and Shenlong bloodline resonant sensation, she had been able to vaguely speculate that her ancestor's cultivation might be in the eternal realm, but just now, a more powerful aura spurted out from the ancestor's body. She sensed blood again, unable to perceive the realm of the ancestor. Breakthrough. Yi Yun laughed. Ancestor, aren't you now, in the true God realm? Luo Li asked tremblingly. After all, he is the leader of the Shenlong Sect and has the sect's heritage. Luo Li also knows that there is an ethereal true God realm above the eternal realm. Yes, Yi Yun nodded. Wow! It turns out to be the true God realm. Ancestor, our Shenlong Sect can be saved. Hearing Yi Yun's confirmation, Luo Li was so excited that she danced and then burst into tears. God. Real God realm. That was the legendary terrifying divine realm on Changnan continent. No one has broken through for countless thousands of years. Most of the monks have never even heard of the true God realm. Yi Yun touched his eyebrows. You can see this little slug in front of you. In the declining Shenlong Sect, I don't know how much suffering and grievances I have suffered. Little girl, tell me about the Shenlong Sect, Yi Yun said seriously. Ancestor, today's Shenlong Sect. Luo Li wiped away her tears and told Yi Yun everything she knew about the Shenlong Sect. After listening, Yi Yun asked silently, if according to what you said, you don't know which superpower the 250th generation leader offended? Yes, Ancestor, Luo Li said with a sad face. It's been too long, and the ancestors kept secrets. As a result, even now, we don't know who the person who has always been at odds with our Shenlong Sect is. Don't be afraid, no matter who it is, I will destroy them all. Yi Yun's eyes flashed with bloodthirsty light, the plain voice contained an iron-blooded will that could destroy the world. Luo Li was stunned, such a good-looking ancestor is so domineering and charming. Yi Yun used his spiritual sense to test Luo Li's qualifications. I couldn't help but feel a little disappointed when I discovered that this little girl's Shenlong bloodline was pitifully thin. It seems that the current Shenlong sect is not even as good as a ninth-rate sect, but it doesn't matter, he has plenty of ideas. Yi Yun touched his wrist and took out a pill. Eat this marrow-cleansing pill first, Yi Yun ordered and flew towards Luo Li with a flick of his finger. What kind of quality is this? As a result, this marrow-cleansing pill exuded Taoist charms. Luo Li's eyes burned brightly, and the hand holding the pill trembled. God, what quality is this? She had never seen such an awesome marrow-cleansing pill in her life. The best divine marrow-cleansing pill. Yi Yun smiled softly. What? God level? Luo Li shivered with fright, and in her daze, this God level, top-quality marrow-cleansing pill actually fell from the gap in her palm. Chapter 3 God Level Elixir, Shocking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Look at Luo Li losing her composure. Yi Yun smiled softly, with a strange look on his face. It's just a God-level marrow-cleansing pill. There are so many in his warehouse that a Himalaya can be built there. As Yi Yun thought, the marrow-cleansing pill seemed to be summoned and floated back to Luo Li's palm. How can it be God-level? Luo Li came back to her senses and looked at her ancestor in shock. Is it weird to be a god? Yi Yun looked at Luo Li curiously and smiled softly. Ancestor, I really can't bear to eat such a precious marrow-cleansing pill. Luo Li held up the marrow-cleansing pill in her palm, her eyes shining like a hungry beast, and she swallowed a mouthful of saliva with difficulty. God-level marrow-cleansing pill, it has not appeared in the entire Changnan continent. Just stay in the legend. The levels of martial arts, pills, and magic weapons in the world today, from low to high, are mortal level, yellow level, spirit level, mysterious level, earth level, heaven level, king level, emperor level, and god level. In Changnan continent, all heaven level marrow-cleansing pills must be broken and snatched from the head, while king level and above level marrow-cleansing pills have never appeared. There are only 10 major levels spread in the world. Maybe some elixirs will appear up to the king level, but above the emperor level, they will only remain in legends. As for the marrow-cleansing pill, the highest level is heaven level. Low grade. This is also the top alchemist in Changnan continent, and can refine the highest level marrow-cleansing pill. Luo Li had been poor all his life, and the best marrow-cleansing pill he had ever tasted was only a top-grade yellow pill. At this moment, 2 green lights appeared in her eyes, and she thought that if she sold this god-level marrow-cleansing pill, she didn't know how many heaven-level marrow-cleansing pills she could exchange for it. The little girl looked like she was obsessed with money. Yi Yun smiled softly and took out a small purple gold gourd. Don't be reluctant to eat it. There are still 10,000 marrow-cleansing pills in this gourd. You can eat them like jelly beans, and there will be no problem. After hearing what Yi Yun said, Luo Li was shocked again. She felt like her whole brain was out of control. Ancestor, are you kidding? Luo Li asked tentatively. If this ancestor, who had already cultivated to the eternal realm 100,000 years ago, had a god-level marrow-cleansing pill by chance, it might also work. After all, 100,000 years ago, the Shenlong Sect was so powerful, but it is absolutely impossible to say that there are 10,000 god-level marrow-cleansing pills. Am I kidding like this? Yi Yun took out a small mirror and looked at it twice, but found that his face was serious. How could he be joking? So he gently threw the purple gourd to Luo Li. Then open it and take a look, Luo Li. Oh, Luo Li took the purple gold gourd dubiously and opened it. He saw that there was a cave inside the gourd. There were a lot of marrow-cleansing pills floating densely. A rough count showed that there were at least 8 or 9,000, and every marrow-cleansing pill is exactly the same as the one in her hand. They are all god-level marrow-cleansing pills. As if being hit in the head by a heavy hammer, Luo Li was so shocked that she couldn't speak, and her mind went blank. With so many god-level top-quality marrow-cleansing pills, I am afraid that once they are taken out, countless powerful forces in Changnan continent will probably beat them to death. Even the most powerful sects at the eternal level will be wiped out overnight. A god-level marrow-cleansing pill can create a genius, an unparalleled genius. Ancestor, am I dreaming? Luo Li rubbed her eyes, stunned, as if she couldn't believe it. It's all true, little girl. Yi Yun smiled softly, with a kind expression. It can be seen that the 298th generation leader of the Shenlong Sect has suffered a lot of hardships and grievances since childhood. This made Yi Yun extremely moved. He secretly vowed to make the leader of the Shenlong Sect, the weakest in history, into the top and most dazzling genius on this continent. Woo! Luo Li covered her face with one hand and cried sadly. She didn't know why she was crying. Maybe it's because I'm just too happy inside. Luo Li, stop crying and take this marrow-cleansing pill quickly, Yi Yun said with a smile. Luo Li stopped crying. She had been hiding from XC for so many years, which made her extremely tough and her self-control far beyond that of her peers. She respectfully handed the purple gourd to Yi Yun again. I'll give you this gourd-cleansing marrow pill. Yi Yun waved his hand. At first, he signed in that dark space every 10 minutes, but by the time he got there he was already numb. Perhaps the system deliberately stimulated him. After 30,000 years, the system has given him more and more rewards. For example, before, rewards were based on a gourd of marrow-cleansing pills, but then. The reward for one sign-in is 10,000 gourds, 100,000 gourds, 1 million gourds. Yi Yun didn't dare to think about it anymore. He gained too many things, and this has become his most painful memory. He never wanted to go to that warehouse to see the countless pills, techniques, treasures and, God's pet, oh my God. Seeing that her ancestor was going to give this gourd-level marrow-cleansing pill to her, Luo Li was immediately startled. How dare she, a weakling with the 8th level of Qi, take such a precious thing? If her breath accidentally leaked, she would be dead. He has been on the run for many years. The young Luo Li is already an old man, so how can he not understand the principle of not exposing wealth? Ancestor, this is too valuable, you'd better take it. Luo Li smiled awkwardly and put the purple gourd into Yi Yun's hand again. That's fine. Yi Yun smiled and nodded. He was once the leader of a large sect and walked around the world with a sword, so he naturally knew the dark laws of the monastic world. Next, Luo Li carefully swallowed the divine marrow-cleansing pill. Hoo-hoo, her body changed, and she began to shed black sweat, and then black mud. These were all impurities in her body. This process, it lasted as long as a stick of incense. Oh, it really stinks. My ancestor made you laugh. After the marrow washing is completed, Luo Li was covered in a layer of pitch-black impurities and exuded a stench, which made the little girl blush with embarrassment and wished she could find a place to get in. At this time, Luo Li suddenly heard her ancestor ask her a strange question. What color robe do you like? Luo Li. Yellow. Luo Li said it bluntly. A bright yellow light flashed past, and a yellow woman's robe suddenly floated in front of her eyes. This goose-yellow robe was exquisite and gorgeous, with a dragon pattern on the back, and a layer of divine light emitting from the surface, making Luo Li unable to look directly at it. The quality of this robe exceeded Luo Li's imagination. What quality is this? Luo Li couldn't even tell. The most powerful robe she had ever seen in her life was only heaven level. Yi Yun sighed softly. This dress is only of the emperor's level, so you can make do with it first. Imperial robe. Hearing his ancestor's understatement, Luo Li was shocked and dumbfounded. Wearing an imperial robe casually, Luo Li felt like she was going crazy. If she wears this, will she still live until tomorrow? Chapter 5 Divine Weapon Sharp Blade, Supreme Golden Dragon Sword. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing the little girl's excitement after her breakthrough in cultivation, Yi Yun just smiled slightly. He just felt Luo Li's bloodline. The purity of Luo Li's ancestral dragon bloodline has reached 1%. According to this progress, a few hundred drops of ancestral dragon blood essence can make her bloodline concentration exceed 90%. The lower the cultivation level, the better the effect of the ancestral dragon essence and blood, and the lower the cost, but not everyone can bear the essence and blood of the ancestral dragon. Only people with the blood of the dragon can use different types of dragon essence and blood to increase blood concentration, no matter what means are used to improve it. It is impossible to 100% achieve the bloodline of Shenlong. Even the essence and blood of the ancestral dragon is the same. It can reach up to 99%, although only 1% difference, but this gap is like an unfathomable chasm that prevents humans from ever reaching the true dragon. Yi Yun's current concentration of ancestral dragon essence and blood has just reached 90%. This is because he has a high level and improves quickly, and a little guy like Luo Li can only improve step by step, the further back you go, the greater the cost of improvement, especially after passing 90%, however, it is enough for humans to have 90% dragon blood concentration. Luo Li, our Shenlong Sect has 3 great skills, one is palm technique, the second is sword technique, and the third is body technique. Yi Yun looked at Luo Li seriously, smiled softly, and asked, "How did you learn?" Luo Li stood up at this moment, her face turned red and her head lowered. "If I go back to my ancestors, I am best at the Shenlong transformation technique, followed by the sword technique, and the palm technique is the worst, and I have basically never learned it," Luo Li said shyly. Yi Yun laughed. "It's no wonder that Luo Li's body skills are the best. I'm on the run every day, and if I don't have any strong skills, how can I survive?" Yi Yun speculated that not only Luo Li, but also all the disciples of the Shenlong Sect starting from the 251st generation, all the disciples of the Shenlong Sect had regarded escape as the top priority, therefore, every practitioner of Shenlong's 100 transformations technique is extremely proficient in it. "From now on, you don't have to run away." Yi Yun smiled indifferently, but his expression became a bit colder without realizing it. "Aha." He touched it lightly on his wrist, a shocking cold light suddenly appeared in his hand. This is an indescribable divine sword, crystal clear, like pure ice crystals. Inside the almost transparent sword body, there is a 7-inch lifelike golden divine dragon sealed. This sword shone brightly throughout its body and exuded a powerful aura. As soon as it appeared in the void, the entire void suddenly became slightly distorted. Luo Li's expression suddenly changed. "This sword is so powerful. Ridiculously strong." She couldn't even judge the level of the sword. "Ancestor, what level is this sword?" Under the pressure of the divine sword's aura, Luo Li had difficulty breathing and asked with some difficulty. Yi Yun shook his hand gently. The momentum of this peerless divine sword was immediately withdrawn, and Luo Li breathed a sigh of relief. "This is the supreme golden dragon sword. It is considered to be a god-level sword." Yi Yun smiled softly, flicked the sword, and let out a burst of dragon roar. With Yi Yun's flick, the sealed golden dragon inside the sword seemed to come to life, and actually turned over inside. Luo Li was stunned. She did not expect that when her ancestor took action, he would take out a god-level weapon. Luo Li was extremely shocked. How could our ancestors have god-level weapons? In Sangnan continent, those powerful forces at the eternal level only use emperor-level magic weapons to suppress their religion. As the leader of the Shenlong Sect, she also knew that the Shenlong Sect once had a divine sword that reached the imperial level. However, this precious imperial sword was eventually destroyed in the hands of the 250th generation sect leader. "Luo Li, I'll give you this sword. You are the leader of the Shenlong Sect. You can do anything wrong, but the sword in your hand must not be bad." Yi Yun smiled slightly, looking proud. "The strongest thing in the Shenlong Sect is swordsmanship. As the sect leader, it is natural that he cannot lack a capable divine sword." "Oh." Luo Li was still in shock and took over the Taishan golden dragon sword in a daze. She looked at the golden dragon sealed in the sword body with a look of shock. Is this dragon still alive? What is sealed here is a dragon soul, and it is still alive. Yi Yun said with a smile. Luo Li nodded silently. She couldn't put it down and stroked the sword gently. Her heart was filled with joy, her eyes kept shining, and she felt like her saliva was dripping onto the sword. Luo Li never dreamed of this. In the past, she, the weakest sect leader in the Cangnan continent, would one day possess a god-level weapon that was not available in the entire Cangnan continent. It took half a stick of incense. "Ancestor, this sword is very good, but I can't use it," Luo Li said with a cry after coming back to her senses. "This god-level sword is earth-shattering. I am afraid that once it is taken out, the entire Cangnan continent will stir up bloodshed." Yi Yun smiled and said, "Don't worry, I will add several layers of seals on it, starting with heaven-level quality. In the future, as your cultivation level improves, you will unlock the seals layer by layer. Speaking of which..." Yi Yun gently tapped his hands in the void. The aura of this god-level supreme golden dragon sword suddenly continued to decline, and finally dropped to a low-grade heaven-level sword. Luo Li breathed a sigh of relief. By the way, there's also a scabbard. Yi Yun suddenly thought of something, smiled suddenly, took out a golden scabbard, and handed it to Luo Li. So strong. Is this still the scabbard? After Luo Li took the scabbard, she felt the strong pressure and her body was shaky, almost making her unable to stand still. She shouted in a tearful tone, "Ancestor, this scabbard is not low-grade, right? Let's seal it quickly, right? This scabbard is emperor level, you can use it as a stick to hit people." Yi Yun laughed. After tapping the scabbard several times in succession, all the breath of the scabbard suddenly disappeared. It turned into the most ordinary scabbard, just the spiritual level. Luo Li was finally relieved when she saw this. She inserted the supreme golden dragon sword into the scabbard and held the scabbard with both hands, cautiously, fearing that the divine sword would fall. "Someone is coming outside." Yi Yun frowned slightly, his gentle and jade-like face showing an unhappy look. "Ancestors, they should be the ones who are chasing me," Luo Li explained. "Walk." Yi Yun rolled up his big hand, and a ray of light picked up Luo Li, and instantly appeared on top of the ruins of the sect, standing on the ruins of Shenlong Sect, looking at the thick moss growing on the ruins of the broken arm. Yi Yun recalled his childhood, growing up in this place, and inheriting the title of sect leader at the age of 18. All the past events came to mind, and he couldn't help but sigh. 100,000 years, the sea has changed greatly, in the blink of an eye. The Shenlong Sect, which used to be extremely prosperous in the past, has declined and disappeared in the long history of Changnan continent. Luo Li. Yi Yun suddenly narrowed his eyelids and groaned. "The disciple is here." Luo Li held the divine sword in her arms, standing beside her ancestor with a heroic appearance and a solemn expression. "From now on, you just kill people," Yi Yun said calmly. There was infinite murderous intent in his voice. Boom. As soon as the words fell, the heaven and earth felt it, and a burst of thunder suddenly appeared in the void. Chapter 6 Killing with One Sword, Luo Li's Ruthlessness. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yes. Ancestor. Luo Li pursed her sexy little red lips, and her curved eyebrows suddenly raised. Standing with her sword in hand, her aura was suddenly shocking. At this moment, the killing intent was surging in her heart, and her thin and delicate body stood upright like a shocking sword, releasing endless killing intent. Although her face was cold, Luo Li was extremely excited. Her graceful body could not stop trembling slightly. The ancestor is in the realm of true gods. In the entire Changnan continent for nearly 100,000 years, there has never been a supreme powerhouse in the true god realm. It can be said that the ancestor is an invincible existence. A single thought will wipe out the eternal super sect. With her ancestor by her side, Luo Li was full of confidence. Even if she can't defeat him, isn't there still an ancestor? In the eyes of our ancestors, any monk is as insignificant as an ant. Besides, she is no longer the young monk in the Qi-gathering realm she used to be. Luo Li is now also a great monk on the 10th level of Yuan High realm. Seeing the heroic spirit exuding from this little girl Luo Li, Yi Yun couldn't help but secretly nodded and sighed in admiration in his heart. Luo Li's master is very discerning. This Luo Li has a decisive character, is quite shrewd in dealing with things, and is both feminine and masculine. She is really a rare good seedling. In the future, the Shenlong Sect will definitely be able to regain its glory under the leadership of Luo Li. If Yi Yun, as a supreme being in the true god realm, comes to protect Luo Li, naturally no one in the world can hurt her. Of course, Yi Yun is not a virgin. He naturally wants to let go of Luo Li's growth and let her grow up through more beatings and hardships. Instead of being a flower in a greenhouse, under the gaze of two people, a group of people appeared at the foot of the ruins of the Shenlong Sect. There were 7 or 8 men in total. There are 2 people in the Xiandan realm and 5 people in the Yuan Hai realm. There is also a young man in the Qi-gathering realm. This is it. The young man pointed at the ruins in front and said tremblingly. Okay, you can get out. A Yuan Hai realm monk waved his hand impatiently and slapped the young man in the Qi-gathering realm away. The young man fell on a boulder and vomited blood and died. Ha ha ha. Everyone laughed a few times, and no one seemed to care about the life and death of this young man in the Qi-gathering realm. Kill a passerby who leads the way. After everyone laughed, they began to fly quickly towards the ruins of the Shenlong Sect on the top of the mountain. Senior brother, there is only one fish left in the Shenlong Sect that has slipped through the net. That little girl is only a Qi-gathering realm practitioner. Can she deserve to have so many of us come to arrest her? That a young man on the 4th level of Yuan High Realm said with a smile. This is the only surviving disciple of the Shenlong Sect and the last head of the Shenlong Sect. If we catch her, the rewards we will receive will be extremely generous. In the team, a middle-aged man at the head looked back and smiled, with greed in his eyes. When he thought of the huge reward, he couldn't suppress his excitement. Junior brother, you don't know at all. Although this little girl with Qi-gathering realm cultivation is not high, she is very alert. She has a set of weird body skills. She escaped the last few times we arrested her. No matter what, we can't let her escape this time. Once we catch this big fish and hand it over, we will receive an unimaginable generous reward. The second young man headed by said with a smile. I hope the little guy won't escape this time. That the junior fellow apprentice shrugged and smiled. The others also laughed a few times and quickly came to the top of the mountain. When everyone reached the top of the mountain, they found two strangers standing opposite them, young man in white clothes, with a face like a crown of jade, three-dimensional facial features as sharp as a knife, eyes as deep as stars, and an indescribable aura of immortality exuding from his movements. But the strange thing is that no one can feel this person's cultivation. This person is just like an ordinary person, but he doesn't have any cultivation at all. Beside the man, stood a beautiful woman in a goose-yellow robe. This woman's skin is like snow, her facial features are exquisite, her eyebrows are picturesque, her face is beautiful, and she exudes a powerful aura at the 10th level of Yuan High Realm. What an amazing sword intent! That the leader's senior brother glanced at this stunning beauty and couldn't help but show a horrified expression in his eyes. He was also at the 10th level of Yuan High Realm, but he felt huge oppression in front of this stunning beauty. It seemed that in the next moment, the opponent's astonishing sword intent would cut his throat. This is a great swordsman. That the elder brother felt a little chilly in his heart, so he clasped his hands into fists and asked with a smile on his face, Girl, have you ever seen a little girl with a dark face passing by here? Dark little girl. Luo Li was angry, with a cold face, and slowly pulled out the sword. Yi Yun smiled. These guys are really blind. Luo Li was right in front of them, but they didn't recognize him. But it's no wonder. After all, Luo Li was wearing tattered clothes before and her face was as dark as a little black coal. How could she compare with her current splendor and elegance? Senior brother, this woman is not easy to mess with. Maybe she is the rescuer invited by that stinky girl from the Shenlong Sect. That the second senior brother looked alert and came over and whispered. Huh, really? That the eldest brother's face suddenly turned cold. He drew out his sword and pointed it at Luo Li. The second senior brother's eyes showed greed, and he chuckled softly. The robe she is wearing looks good, it seems to be a great treasure. That the senior brother's pupils shrank slightly and his eyes fell on Luo Li's goose-yellow Taoist robe. His eyes exploded, and he suddenly exclaimed, It's actually an imperial robe. What? Imperial robe? Everyone was stunned. People like them have rarely seen even king-level people, let alone emperor-level ones. Everyone was jealous for a moment. If you kill this woman and get the royal robe she is wearing, you will make a fortune. Fight! That there was a fierce look in the eldest brother's sinister eyes. As the saying goes, wealth can be found in danger. If he gets this royal robe, he can get unimaginable resources and go further and further on the path of spiritual practice. Although there are two people on the other side, that man is just an ordinary mortal, so don't worry about it. This stunning beauty at the 10th level of the Yuan High Realm is their biggest enemy. He is also at the 10th level of Yuan High Realm, and there are 4 junior brothers of Yuan High Realm helping him. They used a 5-element sword technique to kill a monk at the 10th level of Yuan High Realm, which was no problem. The 5 people looked at each other and walked towards Luo Li with their long swords in hand, surrounding her and Yi Yun. Yi Yun put his hands behind his back and smiled calmly. These ants are too weak. Who can be Luo Li's opponent? Kill! Luo Li slashed out with his sword, and at the same time, the combined attack formation of the 5 people was also activated, and the torrent of sword light fell from 5 directions like mercury pouring down the ground. The light of a sword shone coldly across the Kyushu. The sword in Luo Li's hand was like a divine dragon emerging from the world. Facing the sword light of the 5 men, the 5 swords shattered. The sharp sword energy penetrated into the body and shattered the hearts of 5 people. Chapter 7 The secret technique of soul searching begins to break the situation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. One sword. Only one sword was used. Luo Li directly killed 5 Yuan High Realm monks. I'm really strong. Luo Li was holding the supreme golden dragon sword, her delicate body was trembling slightly, and her beautiful little face was flushed. Since joining the Shenlong Sect, she followed her master everywhere. Her cultivation level was pitifully low, and she had never killed someone so proudly. Now I meet my ancestors. In a sudden change, she became a great monk at the 10th level of Yuan High Realm. With just one sword, he killed 5 Yuan High Realm masters. This made Luo Li feel a little dreamlike and extremely unreal. Spare my life. The remaining 2 Xiandan Realm youths were so frightened when they saw that all 5 Yuan High Realm brothers were killed in battle that they quickly knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. Perhaps because of the murder, Luo Li strode over with a sword in hand. Luo Li, don't kill me yet, Yi Yun said softly from behind. Luo Li stopped and suddenly woke up. Her face turned red. The murderous intention was raging just now, and she could no longer restrain it. Fortunately, the ancestor reminded her, otherwise, the 2 guys in the Xiandan realm in front of her would have been killed by her sword. Luo Li had been just a weakling in the Qi-gathering realm for a long time, and suddenly he became a great monk in the Yuan High realm. The gap in his heart had not completely changed, however. Luo Li had been following his master in the world for many years and was relatively mature, so he quickly came to his senses. Explain. Luo Li pointed his sword at the 2 young men in the Xiandan realm and shouted coldly, where did you take my junior brother? I don't know, it's all done by the senior brothers, a young man said angrily. I see you won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Luo Li was furious, flashed his sword, and immediately cut off one of the young man's ears. These guys chased them all the way, and Luo Li was almost trapped in the tiger's mouth several times. If she hadn't been clever and relied on the 9 transformations of the dragon, she would have been captured by them long ago. Therefore, Luo Li will never be merciful to these people. Yi Yun nodded, with appreciation in his eyes. This little girl is sophisticated, decisive in killing, and has the courage of a generation of sect masters. Xia, we really don't know. Another young man also begged for mercy loudly, tears streaming down the floor. Ancestors, maybe they really don't know. Luo Li turned around apologetically, looked at Yi Yun and smiled bitterly. If I had known this, I should have spared the lives of those 5 people. Yi Yun shook his head and said casually, since these 2 guys are of no value, let's kill them. Luo Li was overjoyed. She raised her sword and lowered it. 2 cold lights flashed down, and the heads of these 2 people fell to the ground. Hee. After killing the person, Luo Li burst out laughing. Once upon a time, Xiandan realm was regarded as a great boss-level figure in her eyes, but now, killing such people is like chopping vegetables and melons. It's really easy, and all of this is given by our ancestors. Feeling proud in her heart, Luo Li's mood began to slowly change. Yi Yun clasped his hands behind his back, walked a few steps forward, and came to the bodies of the 5 people. He gently stretched out a finger. And a dazzling light quickly emerged from the fingertips and entered a man's mind. Ancestor, this is. Luo Li was holding his breath and staring at Yi Yun's actions with curiosity. The light red soul slowly rose from the top of the man's head. This soul looked dazed and wandering. Yi Yun's eyelids narrowed slightly, and his fingertips kept flashing light as they fell into the soul. He is performing a supreme soul-draining secret technique. This secret technique can separate the soul of a person who has just died, preventing him from entering the 6 realms of reincarnation. At the same time, you can also search for souls, explore the person's lifetime memories. After more than 10 seconds, Yi Yun breathed out gently, his expression calm. Ancestor, have you discovered anything? Luo Li asked softly. She is not stupid, she knows her ancestors' mysterious methods, and she must be searching for something. Do you know Wanbao Pavilion? Yi Yun raised his head, looked at Luo Li quietly and asked. You know, Ancestors, Wanbao Pavilion is the largest auction house in the Guyu dynasty. Luo Li explained. These people are from Shenlong Sect. They received the mission from Wanbao Pavilion. If we want to find your junior brother, we have to go to Wanbao Pavilion, Yi Yun said softly. After he finished speaking, he raised his brows slightly, with a thoughtful look on his face. It seems that the forces behind this are not simple. He didn't take any action. He just issued tasks through Wanbao Pavilion, hidden too deeply. To be honest, the Shenlong Sect is now withered and there are only a few people left, so the other party does not need to spend so much effort. But what I didn't expect was that they were still as cunning as foxes, hiding behind the scenes and secretly controlling everything. This made Yi Yun very curious. He also wanted to see who was secretly setting up this plan against the Shenlong Sect. A pile of flames burst into flames. The 7 people from Shenlong Sect were all burned completely by Yi Yun. Then he rearranged the formation in the back mountain and took Luo Li away from the ruins of Shenlong Sect. Yi Yun was not familiar with this Guyu dynasty. Because this is a new force that emerged thousands of years ago, Luo Li was responsible for leading the way, and Yi Yun flew at a terrifying speed. In almost 2 or 3 breaths, he crossed thousands of miles and directly arrived at the capital of the Guyu dynasty. What a terrifying speed. Is this the strength of the true God realm? After Luo Li landed on the ground, she recalled the terrifying flight just now and couldn't help but tremble. If she were to hurry, this 1,000-mile journey would probably take at least half a month. For our ancestors, it only takes a few breaths. The imperial city of the Guyu dynasty was called Deus City. The 2 people followed the bustling crowd and walked in from the city gate. The Guyu dynasty was a country of cultivation, so monks could be seen everywhere on the road. Walked for a while, the 2 came to the door of Wanbao Pavilion. You 2 gentlemen, do you want to auction or buy? A young boy came over quickly with a smile. This young man has a very discerning eye. He can see that both Yi Yun and Luo Li have a noble temperament and are definitely not ordinary people. Yi Yun ignored the young man and walked straight in with Luo Li. I want to meet your shopkeeper, Yi Yun said with an indifferent expression. Okay. When the young man saw that Yi Yun was coming with bad intentions, he was quite frightened. The man in front of him seemed to have no cultivation, but he exuded a powerful aura in every move he made. It's mind-blowing. That stunningly beautiful woman was already a great cultivator at the 10th level of Yuan High Realm at a young age. This made him dare not neglect, and hurriedly went to the 2nd floor to report to the old shopkeeper. Chapter 8, A Disagreement, Drawing Swords to Kill Each Other. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Watch the little guy running upstairs in panic. Yi Yun just smiled coldly and said, let's go to the 2nd floor. Luo Li responded and followed Yi Yun directly to the 2nd floor. There was also a boy at the top of the stairs. Seeing the 2 men's momentum, he didn't dare to stop them. The boy who went upstairs to report did not expect that Yi Yun and Luo Li would go directly upstairs. He just ran to the door of a private room to report when he saw Yi Yun and Luo Li walking in. This left him at a loss as to what to do. The shopkeeper was an old man with white hair and beard. When he suddenly saw someone breaking in, his face darkened and his eyes were full of anger. You 2, I have a distinguished guest here, please go wait outside. The old shopkeeper had a gloomy face and issued an eviction order. Next to him, sat a middle-aged man wearing a black robe. The middle-aged man has a very high level of cultivation and is actually a great monk at the 10th level of Yuan High Realm. You 2, please come out with me first and wait a moment. The boy turned around and shook his head with a wry smile. It's none of your business, get out of here. Yi Yun stretched out his hand and pushed the young man out with a slap. Presumptuous. When the old shopkeeper saw Yi Yun and Luo Li being so arrogant, he was furious and said coldly, You 2, don't you understand the rules of my Wanbao Pavilion? Rules are made by people. Yi Yun's eyes were like swords, and he looked at the old shopkeeper coldly. He sneered, it's also used to break. Well, the old shopkeeper was so shocked by Yi Yun's words that his face turned black, then red, then blue. He couldn't see the depth of the young man in front of him, but he gave the impression that he was an ordinary person without any cultivation. But the beautiful girl next to her has an astonishing cultivation level, having reached the peak of the 10th level of Yuan High Realm. For this girl, He was extremely afraid. The middle-aged man in black robe who had been sitting silently stood up suddenly, clasped his hands behind his back, stared at Yi Yun with narrowed eyelids, and sneered, "I didn't expect that the small Guyu dynasty would have such arrogant people. It's really eye-opening." Seeing the man in black robe suddenly become angry and said, the old shopkeeper turned around quickly and said with an apologetic look, "Elder Lu, please forgive me. This matter originated from our Wanbao pavilion, so it will naturally be resolved by us." Snort. The man in black robe snorted coldly and sat down again with a gloomy face. Obviously, it also gave Wanbao pavilion enough face. "Luo Li," Yi Yun suddenly shouted, "Cut him." When Luo Li heard what her ancestor said, she didn't hesitate at all. She pulled out the supreme golden dragon sword, and with a powerful force like a rainbow, she slashed out with the sword and went straight to the black-robed man. "Fuck!" The man in black robe was frightened when he saw this astonishing sword strike. He quickly jumped up and dodged to the side. Luo Li's sword suddenly turned in mid-air and he immediately chased after him. "It's simply too much." The man in black robe was furious. He freed his hand and drew out his sword. The sword flashed and struck in the direction of Luo Li. Boom! The two swords collided together, and with a crisp sound, the sword of the man in black robe broke into pieces. Aha! It's like a dragon swimming in fear. Another sword light fell, and Luo Li's sword stabbed the black-robed man's arm. The man in black robe screamed in surprise and stepped back. The whole process is extremely fast, dazzling. Before the old shopkeeper could react, the battle between the two great monks at the 10th level of Yuan High Realm was over. What shocked him was that the beautiful teenage girl was so powerful that she injured Elder Lu with just one sword strike. The old shopkeeper was trembling with fear. The beautiful girl's swordsmanship is fast and accurate, and her killing power is astonishing. Only if he gathers all the masters of Wanbao Pavilion now can he possibly be able to deal with her, but I'm afraid that before he could ask for help, he would be killed by this beautiful girl. "Get out!" Yi Yun glanced at the man in black robe indifferently. The man in black robe covered his arm with his hand, which was still dripping with blood. He lowered his head and did not dare to say a harsh word. He left Wanbao Pavilion dejectedly. He could see that little girl had a great background and was too strong, and he couldn't afford to offend her at all. In the entire private room, only Luo Li, Yi Yun and the old shopkeeper were left. The old shopkeeper was shaking all over, unable to conceal his inner panic. "Two guests, if you have any questions, please tell me. I will tell you everything you know," he said shakily. Luo Li pointed his sword at the old shopkeeper and said angrily, "Who is it that gave you the task of arresting the descendants of the Shenlong Sect?" Hearing Luo Li's words, the old shopkeeper was slightly startled and hesitated to speak. "Say it. If you don't tell it, you can die now." Yi Yun glanced at the old shopkeeper, his eyes filled with murderous intent. After being glanced at by Yi Yun, the old shopkeeper felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar, and his whole body was as cold as ice. At this moment, he seemed to be hallucinating, as if he was surrounded by endless bloody hell, and there was no possibility of escape. This young man is so strong. The old shopkeeper's heart was shattered and he knew that he had met a big shot this time. "Sir, I don't know who issued the mission. That person has a mysterious origin and wears a bronze mask. He issued the mission to hunt down the disciples of the Shenlong Sect, and the bounty he paid to our Wanbao Pavilion is extremely generous." The old shopkeeper said tremblingly, 1, 5, 10, explained word for word. Yi Yun looked indifferent. The old shopkeeper's words did not surprise him. The man behind the scenes was extremely cautious. Even when dealing with a small Shenlong sect, he was so careful that he never took action himself. "More than 10 days ago, one of my junior brothers was kidnapped by people from the Qingjian sect. Where is he now?" Luo Li pointed her sword at the old shopkeeper and asked in a hoarse tone. "Taken away by that mysterious masked man," the old shopkeeper said with a pale face. "Do you know where he took him?" Luo Li asked in hot pursuit. The old shopkeeper looked out the window, recalled a few seconds, and said, "When he was leaving, he just said 3 words, Wangoe Ridge." "What? Wangoe Ridge?" Luo Li's heart was shaken. This 10,000 Ghost Ridge is a legendary forbidden land. it is said that there are countless evil spirits living inside, and it is said to lead directly to the 9 nether hells. No one dares to approach that forbidden area. Once you get close, no one ever came back alive, but there are exceptions. Wangue Ridge holds a special ritual event of lighting sky lanterns every 100 years, the so-called lighting of sky lanterns. Some forces from the Gu Yu dynasty would capture some extremely evil people or some innocent casual cultivators and send them to Wangue Ridge to light sky lanterns, using human beings as the wick and flesh and blood as the oil. It is said that it will burn for 49 days before complete death. In the process of burning, 10,000 ghosts rage, 10,000 ghosts rioted, howling in the mountains and forests. It's like celebrating a festival. But everyone who goes to deliver sacrifices can come back alive. All the major forces act in unison, and through the special ritual method of lighting sky lanterns, they can ensure peace around Wangue Ridge for 100 years. Where is this 10,000 ghosts ridge? Yi Yun's face moved slightly and he looked at Luo Li. Luo Li hurriedly told her ancestor everything she knew about Wangue Ridge. Yi Yun nodded slightly. It seems that this Wangue Ridge is also a mysterious force that only appeared later. Junior brother has been arrested for more than 10 days. Luo Li sighed, guessing in her mind, my junior brother's cultivation level is not high. I'm afraid that if he is sent to Wangue Ridge, he won't be able to survive for 49 days, and there is a high probability that he will die. Exited Wanbao Pavilion, Yi Yun took Luo Li to Wangue Ridge quickly. Wangue Ridge is a full 30,000 miles away from here. It only takes a few breaths. The so-called Wangue Ridge is a black mountain surrounded by ghosts and exuding gloomy energy. This black mountain range stretches for thousands of miles and occupies a huge area. Standing in the void, Yi Yun looked down. I saw a lot of monks from various major forces lining up to enter 10,000 Ghosts Ridge, pushing the bound casual cultivators or sealed sinners one by one. Chapter 9 Forbidden Land 10,000 Ghosts Ridge. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yi Yun narrowed his eyelids slightly and stared into the depths of Wangue Ridge. Just a glance, he saw through all the details of the entire Wangue Ridge. Yi Yun smiled lightly, raising his hand. He was ready to completely wipe out Wangue Ridge. Suddenly something occurred to him, and he immediately stopped. He is now in the true God realm. It is already an invincible existence in Songnan continent. There's something not right about bullying people like this. If one day it spreads to some places, people will laugh at it. Also, as the leader of the Shenlong Sect, little girl Luo Li still needs to continue training. If there were no details, and everything could be solved casually by his ancestor, then Luo Li would be like a protected and beautiful flower that would not be able to withstand any wind and rain in the future. It will fall down when it encounters the wind, and it will tilt when it encounters the rain. Now, this place is Wangue Ridge. It would allow Luo Li to broaden his horizons and gain some experience. Think of this. Yi Yun then changed his mind, but just as he was about to speak, his expression suddenly moved slightly and he looked far away, a mountaintop hundreds of miles outside Dayu's city. Suddenly a middle-aged man in black robe fell down. He looked angry at this moment, looking in the direction of Dayu's city, and said angrily, I, Lu, will not be a human unless I take revenge for this. A chuckle came from the void. The middle-aged man in black robe was suddenly startled. He looked around and shouted loudly, Who is there pretending to be a ghost, and why don't you show up quickly? Then in the void, suddenly a pale face appeared. This is a young man with deep features and eyes like stars. How could it be you? The middle-aged man in black robe could tell at a glance that this man was the man in white who seemed to have no cultivation in Wanbao Pavilion. He was horrified. At this moment, there was a huge wave in my heart. The magical power exerted by the other party has surpassed his cognition. Do you still want revenge? In the shadow, Yi Yun spoke lightly, with endless ridicule in his eyes. When he was in Wanbao Pavilion, he didn't take action in front of Luo Li. But the arrogant guy in front of him had already offended him once. Yi Yun naturally would not let him live until tomorrow. A ray of his consciousness has always been following the other party. The purpose is to kill this person. Who are you? We have no grudges in the past and no grudges in the recent days. Why do you have to kill people and silence them? Looking at the faint shadow, the middle-aged man in black robe felt a sense of terror coming. His body was trembling, and he couldn't even lift half of his strength at this moment. At this moment, he felt as if he was facing God. how can an ordinary person have the slightest bit of resistance when facing a god? Call. Yi Yun's illusory face suddenly took a gentle breath. This breath of fresh air fell on the middle-aged man in black robe, and a flame immediately ignited. The man in black robe was instantly burned to ashes. After doing all this, the shadow disappeared into the void, and near Wangue Ridge, Yi Yun raised his eyebrows slightly. With a faint smile on his lips, he looked at Luo Li and said with a smile, "The so-called sky lanterns. There are now more than 10,000 people, and they are basically all alive, so your junior brother should be fine too." "That's great, Ancestor." Luo Li covered her chest with her hands and let out a sigh of relief. "This place is interesting. You can go in and have some fun. I will take action when necessary." Yi Yun said with a smile again. "Okay, Ancestor." Luo Li was stunned for a moment, then nodded heavily. After all, she is a girl with a flexible mind. After thinking about it in her mind, she seemed to understand what her ancestor meant. This Thousand Ghost Ridge is just a forbidden land that appeared 10,000 years ago. In the eyes of our ancestors, it was just like a child playing with mud. He doesn't like it at all. It's just that the forbidden land of Wangue Ridge is an extremely mysterious and terrifying place in the ancient Moon Kingdom of Shenlong continent. This is the difference in realm. Luo Li sighed secretly in her heart, looking at her ancestor's handsome figure with envy in her heart. When will I be able to cultivate to the true God realm? Not to mention the true God realm, even if she is allowed to practice to the Nirvana realm. Luo Li would wake up laughing even in her dreams. In Sangnan continent, the cultivation realms are divided into body refining realm, qi gathering realm, Xiandan realm, Yuan Hai realm, God shaping realm, Shenxiao realm, Nirvana realm, destiny realm, life and death realm, and eternal realm. Luo Li was only at the 10th level of Yuan Hai realm. There are 6 major realms above. Breaking through every realm is extremely difficult. Within the Guyu dynasty, Yuan Hai realm was already relatively rare. A monk like Luo Li, who is at the 10th level of the Yuan Hai realm, can almost walk sideways in this place, and most people don't dare to provoke him easily. The Guyu dynasty also had strong men in the realm of shaping gods, it's just that they are relatively rare. These powerful people are probably the ancestors of the top sects, and they usually don't appear easily. As for the divine bridge realm above the god-shaping realm, Luo Li had never heard of it. The Guyu dynasty has a vast territory, and in the past 1,000 years, no powerful person in the Xinxiao realm has been born. Yi Yun took Luo Li and landed on the outskirts of the mountains of Wangue Ridge. He restrained the godlike aura all over his body and stayed at the Xiandan realm. By doing this, Yi Yun just wanted to keep a low profile. If there is no cultivation at all, this is not in line with the norm at all, and it will make it easier for people to speculate. It's better to deliberately show a little bit of cultivation. Today in Wangue Ridge, the sky lantern lighting ceremony is in full swing. Monks from various major forces were constantly escorting people into the dark valley of Wangue Ridge. The extremely beautiful Luo Li, dressed in yellow clothes, has an unparalleled grace, fluttering like a fairy, attracting the attention of many powerful people. However, when everyone saw Luo Li's powerful cultivation at the 10th level of the Yuan Hai realm, no one dared to approach him, nor did they dare to make any overstep. Luo Li, who was looked up to by everyone, felt a little uneasy in her heart. She is now a great monk in the Yuan Hai realm, and no one in the Guyu dynasty dares to do anything to her. Let's go. Yi Yun urged from the side with a smile. This little girl is too young. Although she is shrewd, her nature is still in the innocent and romantic stage, and it is not easy to control her emotions, but this is just human nature. Give Luo Li a few more years of training, and by the time she reaches the age of 18 or 19, I believe she will look completely different. The two people slowly walked into the dark valley of Wangue Ridge. In this 10,000 Ghosts Ridge, black ghost energy permeates the air. The plants had long since died and were dyed black. There are black ghosts constantly moving back and forth among the surrounding trees, whistling and making all kinds of weird and eerie sounds, but no one was too scared at the moment. At this time, these ghosts in Wangue Ridge will not attack humans. It took a cup of tea to walk along the valley. The mountain ahead suddenly turned, then I saw a huge canyon appearing in front of me. In the middle of the canyon, there is a black pool, eerie and filled with a thick black ghost smell. And in the pool, there are human monks standing one after another. These monks were planted in the pool like onions, with only their heads above the neck exposed. Everyone has their eyes closed at this moment, looking in pain. Above their heads, each person held a faint red candle. The candle was translucent. From the top of the candle, wisps of dark red gas were constantly floating. Looking from a distance, there was a dim light, as if countless candles were burning. Chapter 10 Ancestor lights a sky lantern. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Is this just a sky lantern? Looking at it from a distance, Luo Li felt creepy. She suppressed the unspeakable fear in her heart, and then her eyes immediately searched the pool. Sure enough, Luo Li found her junior brother Junhua Xiao among the tens of thousands of people in the pool. Luo Li felt anxious and wanted to rush over and rescue her junior brother. Yi Yun grabbed her. Which one is your junior brother? Yi Yun asked softly. Luo Li pointed in a direction and then described the person's appearance in detail. Yi Yun immediately understood. However, he still held Luo Li's arm and did not let go. Ancestor, my junior brother may not be able to hold on for long and will die. Luo Li said in a low voice with a cry in her voice. Yi Yun smiled indifferently and said calmly, don't be anxious. Let the sky lantern burn for a while. When his body's essence and blood are about to be exhausted, it will not be too late to rescue him. If you use the blood of the ancestral dragon in this way, the effect will be better. After hearing what her ancestor said, Luo Li couldn't help but widen her eyes. Our ancestors originally had this meaning. When she thought of the power of the ancestral dragon's blood, Luo Li's mentality immediately changed. If the junior brother can absorb the blood of the ancestral dragon, the effect will definitely be better than hers, and his future achievements will definitely not be lower than hers. At first she only absorbed a drop. According to the ancestor's words, junior brother Jun Grim might be able to absorb 2 drops of the ancestral dragon's blood if he was burned by the lamp for a while longer. Luo Li suddenly felt happy. The two people continued to move forward slowly towards the black pool. There are many ghosts gathered in this canyon. There are many ghosts, and their realms are not low. Yuan Hai realm can be found everywhere, and there are even ghosts of the God-shaping realm. Luo Li couldn't help but be secretly shocked. This 1,000 Ghost Ridge is indeed the most powerful forbidden area. If all these ghosts rush out, the entire Guyu dynasty will face a catastrophe. Fortunately, they have been hiding in 10,000 Ghost Ridges all year round. The various major forces continue to provide sacrifices from monks to light the lamps and comfort these ghosts, thus maintaining the delicate state of peace over the years. The two people came to the pool and watched quietly. Over 10,000 people were lit like candles in the pool, which was extremely spectacular. The surrounding ghosts are constantly lingering, and many powerful evil spirits are roaring next to them. With such a picture, it is simply a picture of hell on earth. The black pool was extremely huge, with many human monks standing around it. These human monks also have powerful cultivation bases, and there are many who are at the 10th level of the Yuan Hai realm and those who are at the God-shaping realm. These are some of the powerful men from the nearby big forces. After a while, there are more and more people around the pool. Someone kept putting the newly escorted human beings into the pool, and then evil spirits pounced on them, using extremely strange magical powers to plant the living human beings into candles. Luo Li's eyes twitched. This is really cruel. If she were a strong person in the Xinxiao realm, she really wanted to strike with a sword and kill all the ghosts in the 10,000 Ghosts Ridge. It's a pity that she doesn't have this strength now. Yi Yun just looked at the pool indifferently without any expression. Under the true God, all living beings are like ants, therefore, he has no sympathy at all. In his eyes, it's nothing more than a bigger ant bullying a smaller ant. Hey, little girl, you've been here for so long, why haven't you done anything yet? There was a group of people standing not far from Luo Li. One of them, a middle-aged man, glanced sideways and stared at Luo Li and Yi Yun coldly. Can't I come and see it? Luo Li glared angrily at the middle-aged man who was talking nonsense. The middle-aged man's cultivation level is not low, he is at the 1st level of the God-shaping realm. Luo Li looked at the clothes they were wearing and guessed that they were people from the nearby Blood Clothes sect. The Blood Clothes sect is very powerful in Guyu Kingdom. In terms of power ranking, it can be ranked within the top 10. You're such a little girl, you have sharp teeth and a sharp mouth. I think you are trying to find trouble on purpose. The middle-aged man looked up and down and felt that the beautiful girl in front of him was extremely unfamiliar, but when I saw that the little girl had such a powerful cultivation at such a young age and was wearing an imperial robe, I couldn't help but feel a little frightened. What kind of force is this? He will not easily have conflicts before thoroughly understanding his opponent. The small conflict between the two people attracted the attention of people around them. At this time, everyone discovered that Luo Li stood motionless by the pool and did not send anyone into the pool, so everyone couldn't sit still. Little girl, this place is not something you can come to casually. If you don't light up the sky lanterns, I'm afraid these ghosts won't be able to spare you. That's right, little girl, hurry up and light the sky lanterns, otherwise no one can save you. Everyone said something to me, speaking and writing, with passionate expressions. The evil ghosts with advanced cultivation levels nearby were whirling and roaring in the air, letting out eerie laughter. These evil ghosts have already been born with spiritual intelligence and are no different from normal people. However, for some reason, they did not speak or have any communication with humans during the time they were lighting the sky lanterns. Luo Li's face turned cold after being criticized by everyone. Although she was not afraid with her ancestors by her side, she felt a little uncomfortable after talking too much. Yi Yun saw the clues, smiled faintly, patted Luo Li's shoulder, and whispered, "If it doesn't work, I'll just be a sky lantern." "How can that be done?" "Ancestor, you are a noble person, how can you light a sky lantern?" Luo Li almost fainted from fright. The ancestor was in the realm of true gods. In order to save herself from the siege, she, Luo Li, was simply the eternal sinner of the Shenlong Sect. "It doesn't matter, just save them the noise." Yi Yun smiled softly and said casually, "This place is not just about lighting sky lanterns. There is an ancient black coffin thousands of meters below the pool. There is a very high-level evil ghost there, sleeping all the time." Yi Yun's eyes penetrated through eternity, and he naturally saw that this was a ghost. Even though it had absorbed the soul energy and blood of tens of thousands of people, it still could not wake up. If that's the case, then he doesn't mind giving this little devil a little benefit, letting him wake up this time, and then settle the old accounts with him properly. The people who bullied him from the Shenlong Sect, even if Yi Yun lets him die, he must let him die clearly. How could Luo Li know Yi Yun's thoughts? But her ancestors' eyes were firm, and Luo Li was anxious and did not dare to go against her ancestors' ideas. Ouch, ow, ow. An evil spirit with a head shaped like a god hovered above its head, baring its fangs and claws, and kept making strange roars. It seemed that he was giving Luo Li a warning. When everyone nearby saw this scene, they couldn't help but burst into excitement.